Yowza, 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 ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking. What you're about to hear here is an interview with Valentine Hollick, the man, the myth, the legend. He embodies what is called the Christ consciousness. Look that up if you're not familiar with it. He is called in. He walks by faith. He saves people from their demons, figuratively and literally. He is called many names in many cultures, granted access to the greatest minds of the universe, and buckle up, baby, because here we go. Thanks for listening.
It's Superhero, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
We're on.
All right. Oh, yeah. Here we go. It worked.
It works.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that great?
Oh, man, it takes a little bit of, learning curve, but then once you dial into it, you can really get it working good. Oh, my gosh. This is so great.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
Now, when you actually record it, will I have a recording on here, or do you automatically with you?
Well, so we're recording right now, and so what's going to happen is, so we get an hour, and then that will be saved on my podcast. That'll just be saved as an episode. So yeah, so the good news about recording through Anchor is the fact that it's very clear. It's really good and clear, and it just sounds a little easier than let's just say through like a speakerphone or something.
Right. Yeah, a lot easier, right?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Thomas Valentine Hollick. We interviewed him the other day, and he's just got plenty. He's a wealth of information, and we have more exciting news to share with you today. And so Valentine, what's the beginning of you starting to help out with people with you've been working with people with disabilities for a while?
Yeah, well, for 30 years I was involved with the elderly and disabled throughout the world, believe it or not. I always took an interest in, because I saw that they were not all there to make these decisions, and people needed to protect them.
I think that's great.
Yeah, around a lot of situations where families would take advantage of them, or they wouldn't understand that they're in a nursing home and they're not being protected, or the disabled not getting the correct information, or the elders about protecting their family members and the siblings and everyone fighting. You know what I mean?
And I think that's fantastic because, especially in this age, there are always the people out there who are preying on the older folks who just don't know, what's up or what's down, or what's real or what's fake, what's a big charade. And so it's great that you're helping out these folks to kind of discern.
Yes. Yeah, and I had to help with transportation here as an example on Maui for the disabled and the elderly. I actually went in like undercover, like you want to say undercover angel.
That's great.
I had to go undercover because when I was up country, the people were going on the buses, and they were staying at the doctor's office all day long, and the family members want to know what happened. Like, where's their member of their family? Well, they're hanging out in the office. They're leaving the office, going shopping, and they can't find them.
Oh my gosh! So they just wander off, and no one was keeping an eye on them, huh?
Yeah, they wander off, and then a lot of them stay in the office, and the doctors, when they found out what I'm about to tell you, the neurosurgeon, Dr. Thomas Rogers, shook my hand. I'm going, well, what did he shake my hand for? He He said, because you put on the map here for transportation for something that we were running around with our clients all day long, would stay in the office, or they would take off and the family couldn't find them. Or they'd stay here while I have all these clients, and then I have no room for people to sit.
Oh my gosh! So
yeah,
they're just either taking off, or they're just hanging around, and they don't know when to leave, or they don't know.
They didn't have because on the bus they don't have a time. The bus, they can go anytime. They have no idea. It's not like a transportation. You go for an hour or an hour and a half the most, and then you get driven home. Well, they didn't have access to that. So what happened was, again, I got called in as a messenger, undercover, and I went on the buses to see people that were injured. I saw people with disabilities that had operations, and I said, all right, Lord, you got to get me to the right people to talk about transportation. So I went to the state here on Maui, and the woman spoke with me that was in charge, said, Valentine, she said, I hear you want to have transportation. This is for the state of Maui now. This isn't just for one individual. I'm going in to speak up as an advocate to get transportation now for a lifetime for these people, so they could go to the doctor's office within the hour and a half, the most, maybe 2 hours, and they're there for their appointment, and then they get driven home, and the family doesn't have to look for them, or the doctors and the nurses. Their secretaries couldn't do their work because they had to watch over the people with disabilities and the elders going out of the office or staying there. So they couldn't do their work. That's why Thomas came and shook my hand and said, you have no idea what you did. You're helping us tremendously. And what happened was, Kurt, is that the woman from the state said, Valentine, I said, listen, I was on the buses and I went undercover and talked to these people. I saw what they go through. There's no way. If you went yourself, you would understand that these people need private transportation with companies to drive them to their doctors. She heard what I had to say. You know what she said to me, Kurt? She said, Valentine, since you're, what you stated, and I know spiritually in the healing, I know about what you do in the community because I read about you. You're in the public eye, and I know this. But I'm going to pray about this, and I'm going to ask God what I should do. I'm going to go I'm going to go pray about this, and I'm going to let you know tomorrow my decision. This is what she said. Now, this is the whole state.
Wow.
Whole state. And she makes that decision, and she goes, and she calls me in the office the next day. And I go, well, okay, she goes, listen, I prayed about it, and God told me to give you the transportation for the people. And that's when the doctors all were shaking my hands and the offices, and I had no idea yet. Like, she told me, but I didn't see it go into effect. But these doctors and nurses, they got wind, and nurses and then the secretaries. Oh my God. And I happen to know this Dr. Thomas Rogers. He's from my same area in New Jersey. I played baseball. I was a pitcher in New York. He was a soccer player, but nobody knew that this neurosurgeon, he's the 8th in the nation over here in Maui, hidden out, that nobody knew that he's the 8th in it. They travel from all the islands just to see him. And from the mainland where you're from and where I'm from originally, they fly in to see him personally, because he's the 8th in the nation in Hawaii as a neurosurgeon. Yeah. He went to school in Virginia like I did. I went to James Madison University, and he went to Virginia Tech, like really close to me, or Charlottesville, University of Virginia. Like, we're about 30 miles from each other. I think it was University of Virginia and Charlottesville. And he did the medical, and I was the broadcaster, and I was the athlete, and we hook up in Hawaii, and he would go like this. I go in the office, he would go, when you throw the fastball, he go because he found out that I pitched a no-hitter all by strikeout. I'm in the public eye globally now, worldwide, in the Hall of Fame for pitching a no-hitter all by strikeout, and he couldn't get over it. He says, I couldn't even play baseball. You guys were off the charts. We couldn't get a run against you in Linden, New Jersey. He said, I'm from Summit, which is Union County. He said, well, I said, we played against each. He says, yeah, but you guys, we couldn't score a run. You guys are Hall of Famers. I mean, and I'm not kidding you. No wonder why you're in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
That is incredible. And so we have these, we had these you had these sort of meetings of the minds right there.
Yeah.
And you ended up, were you responsible for 30 years of driving all of these people, or did you get a legion of other people to kind of help you out?
No. What it was is, what the state does, they hired all these transportation companies, and this is what happened. So I had Lloyd and Cindy, I'm not kidding, it's called Conopoli Taxi. And I asked him, I said, look, for my appointments and stuff for people, he goes, I just want a really good vehicle, like a very comfortable van for people. He goes, I'll give you a town car, same price. So I get driven around a town car.
Incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
I'm driving around a town car to appointments because I got injured and I had to go see things, and I'm seeing what people are going through. I went on the buses to see, because I did get injured. That's how I went undercover, and God had me injured in order to see what people go through. You see what I mean? And sometimes you wonder, like, okay, what did that happen for? Well, I only got injured because I lifted somebody in an emergency with a life-death situation on my property. I had a brain aneurysm, and they said the police asked the ambulance and the people that went in on the emergency, do you need me? No, we don't need you any longer. Well, when he left, they found out when they worked on this woman on the property, she was from the mainland. I came in, and they said, oh my God, we have an emergency. We have to carry her out of here. And can you, we have no other. I said, can you call the policeman to come back? He says, no, we have no time. She could die. She's having what do you call it? Almost like an aneurysm. He says, if we don't get her into an ambulance right now, and I had to lift her, and I got injured. We're talking, when you double the weight, it's like she must have been 160 pounds or 180 pounds. I'm not kidding you. And I had to lift about 340 pounds dead weight.
Whoa.
about 100 yards, brother.
Whoa.
Yeah, on a chair to the ambulance, because on the property it was 2 acres privately, but it was on the back of the cottage. So when I had to walk up the plank of the from the back, I call it a plank, the wooden thing, to get her out of it. It's all stone and everything, and it's in the nature. So I mean, we're talking 100 yards up, brother. Carrying the chair, carrying her in a chair was one of the other people, and I got injured. And this is how I went up on the buses to see what people were. And I looked at it and go, oh my God, I'm being operated on. Did you know that Thomas Rogers, he's the 8th of the nation? I didn't know. They researched him.
Wow.
So he's the 8th of the nation. That's why I'm going to go see him for operation. Well, I do healing work, so I don't recommend people getting operated on unless it's the last resort, or that there's no other way they can go. I would look at any other opportunity to help people heal, because I see what people go through on operations. That it could be 100% workout, or it could be a nightmare of their lives. They'll keep getting operated on. You know what I mean?
Well, it has been, you see in all these different cultures just how much mind over matter, how much your body can heal things. And you hear about, you see these crazy things like Ripley's Believe It or Not, where a guy will, strangely, he'll stab, a metal spear through his arm, but he doesn't bleed. He's able to just kind of stop the bleeding, and all of a sudden just heals up, and you're going, what the heck? This is crazy. Or you hear about the monks, how they just go out there basically in their underwear up there in the Himalayas, and they
Yep.
just sit there and they meditate, and all of a sudden, all, you know, like in a 30-foot radius around them, all of a sudden it dries up. You know, there's no snow underneath them, and so you just wonder, wow, this is incredible. So how do you go about healing people, being a healer? What tactics are you using? What kind of mindset are you putting yourself into?
Well, I get to see the impressions on people. So, like Edgar Casey, they called him the sleeping prophet. And I just know that I'm given information when I go to sleep, or telepathically when I'm with you. And likewise, I'm sure for you, Kurt, when you're with the soul, the person comes into Hawaii, or if I'm in Denmark or Sweden, in the European countries, which I did for 2 years, people would gravitate towards you. I would meet them. I already know the readout about them before I meet them. This is the gift that the heavenly was given to me, where I see the records on the soul, what they call the Akasha records, which I didn't know. I always said it was movie clips and film clips. And as I mentioned in our other interview, the medium said, "Look, you're seeing the Akasha records." That means that, to explain it to your audience. Do you want me to explain a little bit, or do
Yes,
you want
please.
to say a little bit
Yes,
about it?
please.
Okay, so the Akasha records is, so when you're being born, from the child, from infancy, I'm saying from being from the womb to leaving this earth, or while you're on this earth, you have the records on the soul. So from being inside the womb of the mother, I see the records from hopefully when they're born after 9 months, because I will see things when people are born too. If I'm being shown that, then I transmit it to them. But from, say, 1 year old to 150 years old, we'll just say, you know, because we're eternal souls. So say 100, give it 130, whatever. Whatever that instant, or that illness, or that blockage, or something that stopped the regular flow of that individual that came in, there's something that caused that injury, or that illness, or that unhappiness. I'm shown it. Like I'm shown the time period. So say you came in 1957, for example, right? And then all of a sudden they show me a time period when you were 11 years old, Kurt, which I did see a vision about you, and I will talk to you off air about that after we talked and everything.
Awesome.
And yeah, I want to talk it off air because, you know, I could say it now, but I prefer to talk to you, and we could do it on the other, and then you could respond to it. So
cool.
I'm shown the information. For example, okay, the person's got Parkinson's, or leukemia, or cancer, or scoliosis. So they show me the time period that caused the breakdown of the emotional, physical, and spiritual body. Meaning,
the very first domino that started making it happen, huh?
Yeah. It goes to the core. I'm not showing something that play tiddlywinks and go, oh well, I'll think about it, and I think it's this. And no, I know it's this. It's like 1,000% that I'm shown, and the people look at me when I was cleaning up the beaches in San Diego. And Jerry will tell you this. Jerry is from San Diego. We were together over there, Jerry Barber, and she said you would just go up to people, and it was so. I was the woman that they just lost their family member, and you just gave a message to them about their family member just crushed, and they were white as a ghost, but they were so happy that they got the message. What you said, she said you were cleaning up the beaches. Do you realize how much what you were doing when you were channeling this information direct to me? I said, well, she remembers it more than me, because I deal with so many people, you know, and I just let the flow happen. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Which is interesting, because a lot of the folks who have that sort of clairvoyance, or that you know, whatever word we want to call that ability to be able to kind of read beyond what you just see in front of you, a lot of folks will kind of hold back from that because maybe they've had strange experiences in the past, or they're worried about how they'll look. But I think, or how they'll be perceived. What's great is the fact that you just allow that to flow, and you go, you know what, bam, here's this information, you need to know it, and here it is.
Yes.
And it's, you know, it's like you're offering keys to unlock these doors for these people.
Yes, and I'll tell you, those keys are heavenly sent from above, which I couldn't tell you. I have no idea of all these records and information. It comes directly, I call it from source, the golden sons, from God. If you want to call it Jesus, you want to call it golden light, however you want to call it. But it's a direct connection from home that I'm being shown this information. Because I wouldn't know this information that I impart to people. I've never met them before in my life, but I know about their life.
Wow.
I mean, in vision.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. They go, well, hey, wait a minute. Where did you come from? Where are you following me? How do you know this information? I don't know. I know what I've been given, which Jerry will tell you, and and here in Hawaii, Maria will tell you. She watched it time and time again. Marjana, her name's Maria, but they call her, Marjana, and she stood by me in the ministry to help people because she saw so much. She said, if you're doing what you're doing to help the people, I ask God for someone that's spiritual and it's sent by you. And she said, and if you're doing God's work, then I'm going to stand by you and help you with the ministry, and I'll cook and I'll do this or whatever I can do while you're reaching the people. And she did for 10 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now this totally makes sense when you're talking about you walk by faith. It's, when you say you're called in,
Yes.
These things are totally making sense because anyone could look at that and go, oh, what a small world, or what a quinky dink. But the thing is, it's way beyond that. It's rooted in this, it's rooted in spirit, and the fact that you just so happen to be there at that time to give this person the specific message that they absolutely needed to hear.
Yes.
At that moment in time.
Yeah.
And nothing about, they don't introduce themselves to you. They don't tell you anything about themselves.
Nope.
And there you are, and you just walk up to them and you go, here, you know what? Here's this information that you need to know. I saw that one video with that woman that was walking on the beach, and you went up to her and she was having, the issues with her partner, and you helped soothe her in that moment in time. And just to think, how many different experiences you must have had
thousands
in your years on this earth with that situation.
Thousands.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Probably 10. Seriously, in all seriousness, probably tens of thousands of people, and I'm not kidding you. We talked about it with Jerry and also with Maria. She said just your cards alone, the amount of people. She said, I've never seen anything like it. You deal with so many people. I got like maybe 10 to 20,000 business cards alone that she just was filing along. That's just cards alone, just to put to the side. These are business cards. These are professional people. But with people, I have names and addresses from all around the world. When I had the beach ministry or wherever I went, with people invited me. Oh, they said, listen, we would like to know about your movie, because they were developing a movie on my life called Diamonds of Love. And people will see that on the YouTube, which you sent on the channel with my full name. I was asked by Marlon Brando's cousin. His name is William Osco. He did Alice in Wonderland the musical, and he said, listen, you have a very important message for the world, where Mother Mary appeared to me, handed me a white rose, and then Jesus appeared to me several times. He said, I got to be careful with Hollywood with you, because you're too naive, and I don't want them to taint this story, because they will. And I got to protect you and watch over you. He said, I won't let it happen to you in Hollywood, what I've seen with Marlon Brando's family members, the son, the daughter, and all the people he knew. Now, you have to understand, Bill was in 40 years as a director. He said, you inspired me, and I want to do the story because you were a ball player, I was a ball player. He didn't drink, I didn't drink, but he had 850 people in his home every week from Hollywood getting contracts and TV and movies. He knew that whole game. He contacted me on doing a true life story that in his brain, in the computer, he in California, he stopped everything. He said the computer stopped, and in his mind said, you need to contact this Thomas Valentine Hollick in Hawaii for his true life story. You want to do it? And he contacts me and says, I want to hear about your story. And then when he did, he goes, I'm interested in it. Do you realize that I can put you in 300 countries overnight? Do you realize who you're talking to? I says, great. I said, I'm ready. Let's do it. And that's when he said, do you realize who you're talking to? Well, I asked God for the message to go out to help humanity. And if it took a director that could bring it out in 300 countries at the time, probably even more so, probably the whole planet, because he's been in the business for 35, 40 years. And he was sent to me to open up the story, to open this up as a major movie on my life.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that's been sort of marinating then, huh? Has he been gathering the resources to make this dream happen?
Yes. Well, we have everything. I had screenwriters from New York, from LA, from Calgary, Canada. I had screenwriters from again LA flew in to be with me here to get the story. I had people from Hawaii, my historian, Leah. Leah is Barron. And she did the writing and everything as a writer. She did the synopsis. She did work for Bill with a movie with we were going to do with Cheech and Chong. Actually, Cheech and Chong. He was Tommy Chong. Yeah, Tommy.
That's
Chong.
great.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong. And Tommy Chong.
Wow.
He says, I'm involved with Tommy Chong. And he said, I'll bring this out. What you're doing. And he said, I'm doing healing work. I'm doing the CB oil. Before all the CB oil came in, CBD oil, he was giving all this to the veterans. He was so interested in the healing work when he found out. He goes, oh, Valentine, I'm doing this quietly with the vets, and I'm doing when people are very ill. I'm going to give them the CB oil so they can get help from their illness and from being to get them in a better space to heal. He says, so I understand what you're doing. So, and it would be given to him to give to people. So he wouldn't charge people. He would just give it to people that were in need. And then he would then donate to all these causes quietly to the veterans, because that really spoke to him with the veterans to help them and the people that were ill. You know what I mean? From all walks of life.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Bill Usko. And
wow.
Yeah.
So when you, for instance, as a healer, when you, because I remember you talk about on your paperboy routes, you'd be able to tell your customers, what kind of ailments they had and stuff. Now, with this, as you went on the bus and you started noticing all these elderly and disabled folks who didn't have, who needed transportation and stuff.
Yeah.
I can only imagine just how much magic you worked along with those people.
Yeah.
And what kind of information you must have told them. I mean,
well, when I got on the bus, brother, you have to understand the shaking that goes on. These people are injured. That's why I spoke up. I mean, the shaking of the bus, I mean, it was great. The people were wonderful, and they were happy to get the transportation what they had at that point. But when I see this person had an operation and he can't get any kind of insurance to get into by the state to get them to the doctor's office with a van or something to protect him from his operation. And he's being shaken around. And I'm going, and he's like, it's okay. It's okay to, I'm in so much pain the way it is, so I might as well get shaken up in the meantime more, because I will forget about my pain for a while. And I could see he was in pain. You know what I mean? So, and so was I. I'm getting moved around the bus because, the bus is a different type of vehicle, which you're grateful to have that if that's what you have for transportation to get to the doctors. But when this opened up with the state, and I was connected with this woman that saw spiritually that she says, hey, God's telling me to give this to you to help the people, to help.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I was really I just was so thankful and it helped me as an injured, when I got injured, what I shared with you, on the property, helping this woman carry, 340 pounds, 360 pounds I'm carrying, dead weight. They said, when you carry somebody, you have to double it because it's double weight when you're carrying it that amount of any kind of distance when you're carrying one half of the chair or almost the whole chair. You know what I mean?
Right, because they're not helping you out, and there's no, they're just they're just there, and they're not really trying to, like, doing their best to grapple onto you or anything. And so with your healing, is this kind of like Reiki, or is this how do you I'm trying to imagine the process that might go in your mind or in your soul as you're what kind of tactics or techniques or what kind of concentration are you using to heal these people?
Well, first I find out and identify what caused the injury. So I would work with the aura first. I did this in the United States, throughout the United States, upstate New York, from Woodstock or New Paltz, Woodstock, to New Jersey, New York, right? And then, Woodstock to Maui, the rainbow. That's where I would cover from that part of the world, from the East Coast, the West Coast, and all the way to Hawaii. So while I'm on my travels, it doesn't matter if I'm on the airplane, and people actually write checks to me, their deposit slip, to get a hold of me when they found out about the healing. The woman wouldn't trust me, and with her deposit slip with her name and information, because we only had that moment as we're getting off the plane when she heard me talking to somebody helping with the healing. People go, can I contact you and give me their deposit slip from the bank, because they had nothing else in that moment to give me as we're leaving the plane.
Wow. Now, how long does it take for you to heal them? I mean, does it vary in time? Is it, do you have to, do things have to be quiet? I'm trying to imagine in my mind, sort of your process.
All right, I'm going to give you an example, because the woman that I worked with in Denmark, she was from the United States. She had a healing center. So I go into the centers, and I'll talk about the United States a little bit. This one's coming up really strong. So in Denmark, this couple comes in. The woman couldn't eat for 5 years. 5 years because she contracted an illness in India from drinking this particular water, and this evil spirit that got into her stomach. I'm not kidding you. No, I walked into the optical place about glasses in Denmark, and somebody, I said something, and they said, "Oh, can you?" I mentioned about healing or something, because they were asking me information about me from the States and what I was doing in Denmark, and I love about healing. She goes, "Can you tell me a bit more about the healing?" And I said, "Well, this is what I see. I diagnose people, and I bring a team of people in to help." She goes, "Well, my family member is suffering for 5 years, cannot eat properly. Could you help them?" I said, "Well, you can contact me. This is where I'm at the center, and I'll be happy to help." Well, they did. They came with their this ill woman. The family came, and I said, "If you mind being outside while I discuss this out," I said, "you can watch." And all of a sudden, we got her on the table, and I'm not kidding you. There was these entities that were eating away. They were actually evil spirits. They were entities. When I put my hands on her in the stomach area and through her aura field, so I went through the whole aura field. These entities, which they're dark and black, they're not like the gold and the light. When they started to leave the body, because I put my hands on it when I was in the wilderness, I got ignited with this golden light in my hands and my whole body. I was filled with gold, and when I put my hands, these entities started to come out of the body, and they tried to attack me. They wanted to come at me and leave this body and come to me. And I had the other healer with me, and I said, "Look, we got to take this out to outer darkness, man. We're being under attack, because now they want to leave this body and go elsewhere." And so we took it out to outer space, outer darkness, because they would attack you and go feed into your body then.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. So was this a feeling? Was this a visual? Was this all of those things?
No, this was the real thing, brother. This is like, like they say, the name Sybil keeps coming in. When the person's praying and they said that the entities, that she's possessed. Well, she was possessed, this woman. They didn't know it. The family had no idea why she couldn't eat for 5 years properly. No one could figure it out. That's when I'm called in, when it actually, I am and many other healers around the world, and they could contact me, so we could get this message out to help humanity and people in need. They're praying an answer from above. Send me a messenger. So I show up, and apparently what happens is that they don't realize that when you're doing a clearing and you're releasing this, they have no idea that they have to be protected and know what they're doing. Because if they don't, these entities will stay in the area and attack somebody else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So were you able to sort of were you able to see these entities?
Oh, I
did
saw.
you so you saw what they looked like?
Oh, yeah. Well, after they revealed themselves to me, and the woman said, I could see him trying to attack the woman in the center here that was with me. I was on the body. She was observing and watching, and I saw the entities come out and wanted to attach to something. And so I had to move very quickly, like lightning, to divert the energy out, because as soon as the energies, it's like a possession. As soon as it started, the woman started like the family was watching and said, "Oh my God!" You could see the color in her come into her face, because she was white as a ghost before she came in. She was, I'm talking, she was possessed and very ill. To the point where it's like we're called on. It's like the last resort. When prayer comes out, prayer goes out, and people know where to turn. That's when I'm called in, and many others around the world. I want to include our soul families around the world that are called in to help these rare cases that I'm called into. We're talking like the doctors don't know what to do, the surgeons don't know what to do. They it's like that, and they go, well, should we go to the church and get it? Is this person possessed? Should we get a possession on? The crosses and all, because everyone would think crosses would do it. Well, I don't. You have to use crosses because I'm in the golden light, and my hands and prayer and many others to join me help me to move this energy to outer darkness. Because yeah, I'm not kidding you, brother.
So when you did that, what I can only imagine the kind of effect that came over this woman. What was her transformation like after that? After you had banished those spirits,
her transformation was the family came, and not only, they saw it over her face. Her color came back in her face and everything, and they kept thanking me. I'm getting chicken skin, brother. The Holy Spirit coming through me as I'm talking again. Channel, yeah. It's just it's igniting and acknowledging the gift from heaven that this possession had to leave. These entities had to leave, and once they did, the family just was in disbelief that she was getting healed instantly. I'm telling you, instantly she was healing at such a rate that once these entities left, Kurt, that she started to revive back to herself, and they kept thanking me over and over profusely. That I'm so grateful that you came in and I listened to come and see you, and then just blessing us to say, we're just so touched that you came in from the United States. I came all the way from Hawaii, to go to Denmark and Sweden to help out for 2 years, and I only went there for 3 months, brother. I had a passport for 3 months to get into Denmark to be there, and then when people found out in Denmark, they want to put me on the buses because they took a picture of me carrying this woman. I believe I mentioned in the other broadcast where I'm carrying this woman from Danish, and the Buddhist photographer goes with the biggest agency, grabs my picture, and says, "We want to put you on the buses. We want to put you on interviews. You're the top. We love that picture of the heavens, the sun, that you're carrying, and the light is all over you with this." I had a what they call a sarong on because I was from Hawaii, and I of course I had sweaters and stuff like that in the country, but I'm on the beach, so you either I have a bathing suit on and a sarong, and so I just grabbed my sarong because I'm being photographed like Thor the Viking, like Captain America. I look like I'm like Thor. I'm not kidding you. I'm
Incredible. Incredible. And they're putting you all over the buses, and there you are like Thor on the buses.
Yeah, Thor on the
zooming
buses.
around Denmark. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. That is incredible.
The agency,
wow.
They said to me, "Oh, well, we want to put you on this ad campaign, and they want to do it." And I said, "Well, I need to discuss this out," because he said, "Well, this picture, this Buddha, we entrust this photographer. We've known him a long time in Denmark." And he said, "Look, I just took the picture because I saw the light around you, God's light, like a golden globe, golden glow, and rainbows. I mean, everything lit up. You're just lit up with this woman that you're carrying, almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger lifts a weight. I mean, that's what I was doing.
Oh my gosh.
I lifted her all the way up like a barbell, and we're talking about maybe 130, 140 pounds she was. I picked up. When you pick somebody up and you're celebrating, the men pick up the women, and the women feel.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was doing, and they captured me in the moment with the. It was a like the tower, like where the lifeguards are, but in Denmark it was like a tower and the ocean, and it captured me in the moment on this like a boardwalk or a wooden plank that goes out to the ocean with this almost like a lifeguard thing would be there, but it was a Danish landmark or something in right before the going into the ocean, like a place that you could oversee and overlook everything, like a lookout. And
wow.
That's how they captured me. And then they tried to use that image on me and said, "Oh, well, we want to use it for Gama dance." And I go, "Well, what's Gama dance?" "It's a liqueur." I said, "Yeah, I'm not interested." They freaked out. They said, "We already picked you." I said, "Yeah, hey, look, I work with the Golden Sons and the Purity. I'm not involved with alcohol. It's not for me to bring out. That's God's work that you're doing, that you captured me. That's the Holy Spirit. That's Source giving you a gift and a light to show you something. I can't do that."
Right. They wanted to use that as a beacon for their liquor products.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes. And I wouldn't do it. And let me tell you, they made a lot of money. They still tried to use my image, but I wouldn't let them. But they still got paid for it. That's what's really interesting, is the agency got paid, even though I told them I'm not going to use. They told me they weren't going to use the image, and they didn't want to pay me because they selected me, but they paid them. And so I had a woman from. She was a shaman. She was from the United States, lived in Denmark, and she went in undercover because she was a model, and got me inside. And I said, "Listen, you got paid for this," and I got selected. They had to give me the money on the spot. They were hiding the money because they thought they would take advantage of me that I didn't know. And I found out through the grapevine, and I prayed about it, that they were making a lot of money on me by picking the image, and that they should pay me. And they regretfully did it, but because I showed up in person, and they saw like God or like an angel in front of them, and they knew they had no way out.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like the
Incredible.
presence of God was all over me. That's why I say God. The presence of the Holy Spirit's on me. They could see me glowing, and they go, "Man, literally their hands were shaking that they took this money out of the till. I wanted to give it to help people while I'm there, and also for causes that I was involved with, and that was the reason. And only because I found out this woman knew the agency. She was from the U.S. I was helping her out with her and her family members, and she went in undercover as a model to get me in there and to confront them. And they when I say shaking, they literally when when the thief gets caught.
Yeah.
The
Oops,
two
you
of
caught me
them.
with the hand of cookie jar kind of
Yeah,
thing.
they got caught in the cookie jar, and they had to. And because I was there in person, they went in and gave me the Danish money, so I could choose what I want to do with it, because I got selected. But I said I wouldn't do with the agency, because I do not get involved with liquor commercials. Which people said, why did you do that? You would have been all over Denmark, and you would have been famous and all that all over. I said, I'm not interested. It's God's work, and it's a sacred thing that you selected. Even the Buddhists, I was surprised that he said he wanted me to go forward and still use that image, and I said I can't. That's my walk of faith. I can't go and be a hypocrite and say I'm going to tell people I'm going to have a liquor commercial with a spiritual enlightenment picture.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I got you. Right, because especially if it's not something that you endorse and it's something that's not coming from your soul that you fully what's the word, co-sign on, so to speak.
Yes.
It really seems kind of, if that's not the message that you're putting out there, it's one thing if it's a billboard of inspiration, or your book, a cover of your novel, or something like that embodies the very teachings and the faith that you walk.
Yes.
But for it to be something that you just don't believe in.
Yes. Yes. Well, I don't. I'm
Yeah.
naturally high, so alcohol and drugs don't need you. You don't need it. So I mean, and I'm allergic to it anyway, so I wouldn't drink anyway, because my body wouldn't take it. I found out that the malt in the beer, because all my buddies I would always have cranberry juice. Even in high school, when I was a pitcher as an athlete, they'd go, "Oh, well, athletes, they smoke, they drink, they party," and you'll see it during the championships. They're all drinking and all the champion. I don't do that, and I wouldn't do it, because I'm already there. I don't have to drink to get there. I'm already naturally Rocky Mountain High. John Denver, Rocky Mountain High.
Rocky Mountain High. So when you were in the woods and you had that experience where you were just blasted, and
Yes.
and you had the gold instilled within you, was that the moment that you found yourself basically in that perpetual buzz state? Or were you always like that?
No, it was always like that. I came in with it. Actually, people asked me. They would say they would imitate me. My mentor had 2 television series. I'm not kidding you. He would run back because he would do a voice, like have all these personalities, and he would just, because I was so energetic, and he would say, he would run back what I would just say to imitate what I just did. And this was in my my early 20s or 18, 19 at the time, with him on the ball field with his son Jimmy, David Toma. And he had like 30 different personalities. He would go undercover and not use a gun. It was called Toma and Beretta, the television show, David Toma. They could look him up if he wanted. He's 50 years with drugs and alcohol that he helped people, kids that were dying, suicides. And I would help him through losing his son. And we became brothers to brothers, because then the mentor, you outgrew the mentor and you're supposed to go on. But we've always been connected for 50 years, David and I. David Toma, and he
Incredible.
dealt with millions of people he would speak to. I mean, millions of kids he would affect by speaking to them about from junior high to high school, the colleges especially. He was very effective. That he would bust through and say, "You got it. Get them while they're younger." I say kindergarten to 12th grade. You got to get them spiritually evolved so they don't have to go to drugs and alcohol. But he would imitate me with the energy, and people want to be like me. Like I'm in college and go, "Oh, he's so colorful, and he wears all these." I had Elvis shoes. I'm not kidding, blue suede shoes. When I was 11 years old, I would be in bed. I would have blue suede. Look at him, he's got blue suede shoes on.
You know, it's so interesting. I'm getting these images from the stories you're telling me. I'm getting these images from. There's a book called, you probably read it, Illusions by John Livingston Seagull. Have you heard about that one?
Sure. Sure.
And I'm getting those sort of images of kind of how you're describing this to me, because it talks in there that when you're that sort of highly evolved consciously, and people start seeing just how dialed into that you are, tuned into that you are, people just start gathering around you.
Yeah.
And and strange things can occur where you're like, wow, this is interesting. I'm on my path here, and all of a sudden people are appearing out of nowhere who are seeing the glow, and they might not be able to explain it, but there's something that's just drawing them towards it.
Yes.
And it's really quite interesting to me to think that every one of these people that you have turned the light on with, or helped them turn around, or let's say in that one woman's instance, the exorcise the demons.
Yes.
These people are, your spirit is successfully and perpetually living within each of their conversations about you, with their friends and relatives, and it's probably like a Ripley's Believe It or Not episode where here they are explaining this to someone, or a Twilight Zone episode, and they're going, "What? Are you kidding me? Wait, hold on. No, wait, you actually met a guy who did that?" And so it's so interesting that your legacy is I mean, there are people out there talking about you right now. How interesting is that? Thinking about you, is talking about you right now, thinking about these miraculous stories that they came across where you just so happen to be in the right place at the right time. And I can only imagine how much that inspires everybody else to kind of walk in their faith. What would you say is the main message that you were, or I mean, I'm sure you got quite a few. What is one of the messages that you would really like people to know, to sort of feel empowered, or to get in tuned with their own higher selves?
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because people just need to get still, get quiet, and get to know themselves, and really seek out them. Know thyself first, meaning really do the cleansing. Meaning, I don't care if you go into a sweat lodge and you find a lodge. I don't care if you go into a steam room and you start sweating and you start releasing toxins, especially toxins in the body, doing a fast, but being watched over, doing, eating things that are from the nature, things that make you come alive, like especially aqua, which is water, doing the having clean, fresh water in their systems, and cleaning yourself of any bacteria, anything. It'll start, flushing out any kind of toxins. See, when we carry the toxin, that affects our mind, body, and spirit, and the gut is the most important thing to clear and cleanse, because it affects everything in the mind, body, and spirit, what we call the physical, emotional, and spiritual. So to be naturally high is where everybody wants to go, but we come in naturally high as a golden angel. But then as we progress on, we learn all these to go against the true nature. We got to get back into our true nature, our authentic self, and not into drugs, not into alcohol, that's poison. Poison is in the alcohol. Just think of that. You're putting poison in the body. Because I'll give you an example. Our stomach lining, when they say, "Oh, Mikey likes it," when we have something warm in the body, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, "Mikey likes it." Well, that's what we need to do. We need something warm in the system to go, well, let me ask you. Now, doctors don't even know this, so I'm going to ask you, what degree is our stomach lining? And this is for your audience around the world to think about too right now, and they can contact us about this. What degrees do you believe your stomach or the stomach lining, because in their stomach is what degrees do you think it is?
Well, you know what's so interesting? Because I recently read that it's best to drink water at room temperature because it absorbs it. It absorbs it.
Yes.
But if you drink the ice cold water, which may taste very good at first, it takes a lot longer because now your body has to heat, lower that temperature in order for it to actually metabolize that stuff. It's so interesting. I just recently read this now, of course. It makes total sense that you're bringing this up right now.
So do you have any idea what temperature your stomach lining is why you just brought up about the water?
Well, I always hear about how our body is 98.6 degrees. It's sort of average, but I don't know, is the stomach a different temperature?
Yes. What would that be? Higher or lower?
I would say hotter. I mean, I almost kind of imagine it like it might be like a boiler room in there. Like it's.
Oh, you're right on, brother. That's right on. You don't have to say, unless you want to say something else on that.
Well, yeah, just I would say that it's hotter. It's got those acids in there.
Yeah.
It's got the. It's a fiery thing, I'm imagining.
Yeah. So for your audience and for you to know now, it's 100 degrees. I was told this, and doctors couldn't even explain that. I would ask people, and they said the doctors don't even know, even though they should, maybe in the books they'll read it or something. But that's why we need to drink something, like you said, body temperature. Anything we do that we put ice or we freeze something in our body, it has to work so much harder to get the 100 degrees. So whatever you put in your body that is cold and freezing, your body's got to come to that fire zone of 100 degrees in order for it to fire and to work properly for you to digest.
Incredible. See, okay, so now this makes so much sense when people get those, when you get that brain freeze in your brain, when you drink something really cold.
Yep.
And it goes, gets you right in your brain. You're going, whoa! I got a headache all of a sudden. No wonder, because it sounds like the body is just now trying to do its best. It's like, whoa! What are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Yes.
Or ice cream. How crazy is that? That ice cream is this. Now, as you're telling me this, I'm suddenly thinking about ice cream. How, it's delicious, it's freezing, but then what happens? You get the brains freeze, and now your whole body, as you're saying, now has to. I mean, I don't know how cold ice cream is. I'm thinking maybe 40 degrees or less. And now all of a sudden your body has to try to, figure out how to melt that all down. And
but what you do is you let it melt a little bit, but the idea is it's okay, for once, your body's gonna get back to the 100 degrees, but you're putting a lot of stress on it in order to put that 40 degrees or the 50 or 60 degrees before the 100 degrees. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to get there to be 100 again. So, I mean, you could melt it down, the ice cream, but the idea you want to enjoy that ice, and I understand that. And certain people are going to do it no matter you tell them 100 degrees or not. But there is a difference in the makeup of your how your body will adjust to the 100 degrees. It has to get back to that 100 degrees in order to start working properly, and healthy.
Interesting. So now this is making me think, because it's been said that we have to. What's more beneficial for our body is living food. So vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. Now, in that same, as I'm saying this, in the same sentence, I'm also thinking, well, a lot of these fruits are cold. A lot of lot of these things are cold. So,
Yes.
and it doesn't sound so appetizing to eat a warm strawberry or a now that I think about it, bananas are kind of, those are room temperature.
Yeah, they
And,
are.
I guess, there are those that are apples if you
Yep.
got to hang it out in a bowl or something.
Yeah.
Um,
And generally you do. I mean, if you're going to put, say, on yogurt, or you're going to have a fruit thing, you're going to take, by the time you take it out of the refrigerator, you're going to if you're going to wash it, and then it brings that temperature down. And by the time you cut it up, it's already thawing out when you're getting it ready to eat,
Right.
Blueberries, say, for example, they're not going to be the temperature. You can take, I eat blueberries all the time with yogurt, Greek yogurt. I get it at Costco, the big ones, for the week. The blueberries aren't going to thing, but I mean, if you get like, something that's frozen or something, like a frozen fruit, that's a different story, and you're going to do a shake, and then it's 60 or 70 degrees, you know what I mean, or 40 or 50. That's a difference,
Right. So I guess the key is to try to just make sure that whatever we're eating or drinking is as close to as close to an agreement with the temperature of our stomach as much as possible, so it's not working as hard, there's less stress.
Yes.
And then plus we can soak in those nutrients much faster.
That's why everybody loves coffee around the world. I would recommend tea, because coffee's great to start the brain, but when you have the caffeine, works, people, I worked with people that were shaking from coffee over 30 years. His name was Howie, and it was my roommate's dad in Virginia, and he was from Washington, and he literally, in his 60s, 70s, he's grabbing a cup of coffee because he was doing 3 or 4 cups a day, and he was shaking like Parkinson's, and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I want to have my coffee." I said, "But what happened to you?" "Oh, because I drank coffee over the years." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love coffee. I was up to like 3 pots of coffee a day. Now I'm just down to, now I just slowly drink the 1 pot of coffee throughout the day. But
okay,
man, I love the coffee, and I can definitely tell when I don't drink coffee, I start getting headaches.
See?
Yeah. So I'm really trying to go easier on that. I am drinking a lot more water too, and ever since I heard about being able to metabolize water faster, I have one of those Brita filters in a jug that I used to keep in the fridge,
yes.
And drink the cold water.
Yes.
But then once I read about that, and I swear it was probably like 3 days ago, I took it out of the fridge, and now it's just on the counter. So when I drink it, it's nice, and it's room temperature.
There you go. And you feel a lot better, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I don't feel like I'm fighting. Like, it doesn't feel like it's trying to fight to. Yeah, I don't know. I know.
Good.
Yeah, I know there's a difference.
Okay, that's good. Now, what I'm getting, when you mentioned about the coffee for you, is green tea has more an effect like coffee, but it doesn't give you the effect what you're going with the jitters and all. You won't get that with green tea.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Green tea,
I like
herbal teas, peppermint tea is very good for you, for your stomach, by the way. I tell everybody, your audience, peppermint tea for digestion, peppermint, spearmint, mint. The best one I would recommend is peppermint's the strongest. But if you like the other two, or you like something in combination with spearmint, then that's good. But peppermint, anything with upset stomachs or anything to calm you from something you ate or digestion, peppermint tea, everything calms you. It's a relaxer, and it calms everything from the digestion, what you ate. And wait a little bit after you eat. I wouldn't drink a lot of fluids. Like an hour before you eat, I would have fluids like water. I wouldn't eat it with your meal, because what you're doing is it's not digesting properly the food, because it's got like a fish tank in there with water, and you're not getting the nutrients.
Right.
And and it's like a washing machine in there.
Oh,
You see?
Oh, wow! What a great point! What a great point!
Yeah.
So don't drink the drinks while you're eating.
No. An hour before you eat or an hour after, they suggest, and then you drink. But eat your food or your fruit. Like even with water, I hate to say, brother, but fruit is much better than water, because you have the natural water in there. Watermelon's the best. Oh my God, watermelon is an incredible cleanser. I would be able to promote watermelons globally for people for many, many reasons of hydration. Fruits, we have jackfruit here, dragon fruit. It's like a pink fruit. Mangoes, avocados, whatever. They have natural waters in them. Avocados will cleanse your body, and believe me, avocados you can put in everything, from salsa and to make you make your Mexican thing, whatever you want to do with avocados. But getting back to the fruit, that is very important for the body to hydrate. More, the water's important to do, but you don't have to drink as much water if you have the right fruit to hydrate. That's the most important thing, is fruit and the right sugars and everything. Of course, you want to hydrate with water to room temperature, but the fruit is the best for you.
Now, do you think that because I'm just getting this idea with the way that your healing abilities, your abilities to heal, do you feel that it makes a bigger difference with the kind of foods that you're eating in order to have those, well, I'll just call them superpowers, in order for those to be able to kind of flow through you easier?
Yes, because I have to state, a lot of times the healing work, I don't really need to eat. I fast because I'm so much opened with the energy that I don't need to eat. When I'm touching people's lives, you don't want to. You're like fasting because your channel's so open, and you're being this vessel of light to be of help. With the immediate situation you're called to. Either you eat before you see the person, or while you're with them. I just would hydrate, and I wouldn't eat or anything. And when I minister and help people, I'm so filled with the Spirit, brother, that if it wasn't for Maria over Margena, cooking and everything for me while I was doing the ministry work, I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't go. I was across the street from the beach, and people, I was so filled, I wouldn't eat till I come home. Says, have you eaten? No, I'm so filled with the Spirit of helping people, I don't need to eat. I just fasted to help.
Wow, this is really interesting, because it's been said that it's best to not eat before you meditate, for instance. And now this is really making a lot of sense, because it seems like I'm getting the idea that maybe the digestion gets in the way of the clear channel that can kind of come through.
Yes, and that's what I did in the wilderness. I mean, I only had blue-green algae and water, and that's when I opened up to the golden light, because I was fasting. The indigenous people will tell you, the Hawaiian people will tell you, all cultures around the world, they fast and they get to a higher place. Even the harmonic conversion, Mark talked about it in there. Mark Sims talked about it. That's when he does to you. You ask him. I bet you he just channels the information, and he doesn't eat.
Wow, it's so interesting, because for the longest time, just as sort of being a starving artist out here in California, and not really having much money, I inadvertently would fast because I just didn't have money to eat that often.
Right.
And I found the most revelations, the biggest epiphanies, the most prolific writing, and just art that was just flowing through me. And it was funny because it got to the point where I like even eating, the idea of eating was and it wasn't like I was trying to be anorexic or something,
right?
But it was like I didn't even necessarily like hunger pains sort of were redefined as just
Mhm.
they weren't really painful.
Yeah.
They weren't even something. It was like, oh, I noticed that, and okay, well, on to the next thing. Like I
Mhm.
didn't feel like I had to give it attention,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's that's really quite interesting what you're telling me.
It is.
'Cause I'm getting so many revelations right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're bringing this out because people need to understand that they think they need to, and the best meal to have is in the morning, and then lighter it up in the afternoon, and then the morning is you should really have like your dinner in the morning. I mean, you should really. This guy from India, he's in New Jersey with me, and he has this on the third eye, and he's bobbing his head. I go, and I couldn't believe it. He's on the ground. He has enough food probably for a whole family that he's going to eat in the morning in the bowl. He has a little pachachi, and all these different lentils. I tell you, like 20 different things for the morning. I'm going,
Amazing.
a little guy. I'm talking like maybe 120 pounds, 140 pounds.
Wow.
And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I looked, and he's sitting there like a feast, and I'm going, and he's going to eat a little bit of each in this in these bowls. But to me, they didn't look a little bit. We're talking 20 bowls, brother.
Oh my god.
A little bit of each. He didn't have it like stacked that I could see, but beans or chickpeas and all types of rices and like basmati rice. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Lentils. And I don't think he had a lot in each one, but he had the right amount that he would prepare his day. Just that was in the morning. I could imagine the afternoon.
Wow. Which is such a baffling thing because we're always taught, oh no, I'm just going to eat something light in the morning. Oh, it's the morning time. I'll just eat something light. And it's interesting how different foods are sort of designated to certain times of the day. It's really interesting how lunch foods, you can kind of think, just typically people are like, oh, lunch foods. Oh, okay. Sandwiches and chips and, morning foods. Okay. Some eggs and some sausages and pancakes. Okay.
Yeah.
Dinner food. All right. Then we got the bigger things.
Right.
We got the mashed potatoes so it's really interesting how they're just through time, we've attributed these kinds of, just default. We've somehow come up with these ideas like this is what, people typically eat in the morning. This is what people typically eat in the afternoon. So it's so funny, so interesting to hear you say, oh, well, eat your dinner in the morning. And then for you to talk about this guy who just has all of, like a Las Vegas buffet out there in front of him for his morning breakfast.
Yeah, and Indian style. Well, everything was from India. This is the place I was in. It was a healing. Not kid you not. These people were so in harmony with the energies, brother. I went in the kitchen after I was with him, and he's just smiling at me. He was like he's like one of these teachers that mastered things. That was a prayer warrior, and he would see right through you, and I'd see through him because I see also. And he just bob his head and just be in celebration, seeing each other. Going,
I love it.
Yeah, going, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. When they do cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, that means it's like spices. They're happy to see you like spices.
That's amazing.
They do.
Wow.
They bob their heads. When they bob their heads around you, then they're in harmony. They see who you are spiritually. And they're just celebrating and with like spices, I say, because they love all these spices. And so they get happy by bobbing their heads and go, and they actually, the sound goes, they go, with their head, they bob, they go, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. That's what it's
incredible.
And the sound. So I got the sound and the movement.
I am just learning so much through this conversation here. This is astounding.
Yeah. Now I do want to tell you this. When I went into the kitchen, I'm not kidding you. The deer would come on the property and just walk with you. Everything was so in harmony with people from India. Now, only people from India were allowed in the center. My spiritual name is Amar Akman Ran. My Amar, they knew that I was my Sanskrit name, and they knew about the healing work. That's why they let me in. Otherwise, I'm supposed to be Indian, from India, but because I've had a lifetime in India, and they saw it. They could see I'm from India also. They said, well, I'm going to look around the grounds. And I went into the kitchen. Not one, I saw it at night, and the deer during the evening, like just everything in harmony. The insects wouldn't even come out and touch the food. They had food and stuff set up for the next day. Everything was blessed, where not an insect would come out and touch their food. That they had everything. There was such a presence that everybody would be taken care of, and they would feed the deer, the insects, or anything around, any kind of beings that would be in harmony there. And I've experienced it. They were in harmony.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. When I saw the deer, Kurt, and they were like, these are big deer. They're like fawns, like little babies. Just they're like they entrust you that you're not going to do anything. So they come right up to you. They came right up to me.
Wow. What an interesting thing when you have a community of people who are so in tune with it, whose mission basically and intention is to be in harmony,
yes,
in balance with nature,
yes,
and then nature. Just because a deer doesn't have to worry about its taxes, doesn't have to worry about a 9-to-5 job. It's not worrying about competing against whether it's going to get the next role in the next movie. It doesn't care about that. It's just being what it is, and it's so interesting because that's where that beautiful communication can come into play there, because it's sensing that this community of people are in tune with nature and in tune with the natural unfolding of the universe, and it's going, hey, it's one of my kind. They just happen to look a little different. It's that's so amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it happened to me in Woodstock too, up in the mountains, where the deer, actually, I was walking up to the mountain called Angel Mountain, and the deer's like right on the side of me, walking up the mountain with me, and like a friend, like I'm gonna walk up with you as a spirit guide, and it was not in fear, it was in harmony, because I was so happy and going to the mountain, and wanted me to guide to walk up with me.
I love it.
The deer.
Oh my gosh.
The fawn. It wasn't a fawn. It was what do you call the adult, and it just kept eyeing me and smiling at me as we're walking up the mountain.
It's great. That is great.
So I had good. Well, my power animal is the moose. They call me MooseHeart in the Lakota tradition with the sweat lodge. And I guess the deer knew that that I was in harmony with the animals.
Incredible,
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Now, have you come across any moose in person?
Yes, I did.
To kind of...
Yeah, the reason they call me MooseHeart was when I was in Sweden. I was given the opportunity to. My buddy was leaving for India, and he said, I'm looking for someone to take care of my home. You're traveling through. He said, I got a message. I went into prayer that you're to watch over my home while I go to India. He goes, you can come to India with me if you want. I go, listen, I already did that with India. I don't need to go there or whatever. He goes, I'm going to be taking time. We're talking like 3-4 months or something. It wasn't just like a 2-month trip or a 2-week trip, So he said, I think about 3 months or 4 months he was going to be gone. And I said, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. Well, when he decided when he decided to leave, I go and visit with people in Sweden, where it was a Swedish healer. She was in Australia, and she went back home I met with her. Her name is Samara. Anne Sophie Anderson is her name, but her spiritual name was Samara, and mine was Amar. And the angels even showed me up above that when we came together for healing to help people in Sweden, I was with the family on that particular day, and I'm in the wilderness now. They're at the edge of the wilderness where this moose comes out, and it comes right over to the garage area, and like from the forest comes out, and it's looking around, and I thought it was hungry. Well, I went outside to go meet the moose, about 7 to 9 feet from me, brother. I'm telling you, if not closer. They took pictures of me. I actually have the pictures of the moose.
Whoa.
Yeah, the moose was huge, brother. You know, when we stand up, their shoulder blades, like I'm 6'2", right? You're probably at least 6'6" yourself, right? 6 foot at least.
I'm 5'6".
All right, so you're 5'6".
I'm a little guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're 5'6".
So I'm probably as tall as its kneecap then.
Yeah. So you're tall. Okay, so I'm 6'2". His shoulder blades was standing as tall as me as 6'2".
Whoa.
This the moose that comes in.
Whoa.
He puts his head down, and I went out to go feed it bread, and it's looking, to go feed it. I thought, well, it was hungry. It's snooping around. It was sniffing around, and I saw it from the from the living room area or from the house, right? They had you could see through. And I go, I got to go say hello to the moose. I just got this feeling. So as I'm feeding the moose, it's got its head down, and it's starting to, like a bull, and it's starting to take and it's cold out now, brother. I'm in I bought this special jacket in Sweden. It was purple and black. It was black, but mainly purple, because I love purple with the violet flame. And we're talking like a overcoat type thing. We're not talking like it's cold in Sweden at this time. And the reason I'm saying it, the nostrils of the moose was breathing out the cold like smoke. So I got smoke coming out the nostrils. He's got his head down after I'm feeding him now, right? And all of a sudden he starts taking his, like if a bull was going to charge you, they start to take the right side. He started to take his hoof, and he started gently taking his foot like he's going to charge. And the people inside are going, I can't believe this guy from the United States, this healer is going out there to see the moose. He's off his rocker. He said that as I'm walking out the door, and I'm just,
my gosh,
I'm following the energy telepathically telling me to go say hi to the moose. So as this is happening now, he's doing the hoofs that he has, and let me tell you, they're big. This is a big foot now, and I'm watching him, and he's not trying to charge me. And it looked like a female to me. It could have been a male. I'm not sure, but it was huge. That's all I knew. But I didn't feel that. I was in harmony with the moose. I was not going to harm it. It wasn't going to harm me. I just went in to be in one. And so as it started with now it's blowing out this nostril with the smoke, what you would say, breathing, and taking its hoof, and all of a sudden, soon as it gave me the impression, like gave me the message what it was there for. It looked at me and kept saying, it's time to get up. And this is what I was given the message. It's time for you to go back to get your power up, because I'm in Europe for 2 years now, Denmark and Sweden for a year. And they said, this was the message for me, was to get your power back up and get ready, because it's time for you to leave. It's time you're needed back in Hawaii. And so I'm here as a messenger to tell you to get yourself ready. And that's what happened.
Wow. And
yeah.
So how long was that? How long were you living out there watching the house until you saw the moose?
I got to stay on the property with the moose and everything. I mean, on the property where he left for India, but then it was my traveling coming to Hawaii with me, I was at the house with the family to reassure them that the daughter would be fine with being Hawaii after being with the moose. I don't know what they thought. They go, I don't know. But then they realized that the moose was really was something unusual. They never, because a moose would attack you. Believe me, the moose is not going to just do what it was a supernatural occurrence in the flow. That's why her stepdad freaked out, because he's probably a hunter and shoots moose, and so he knew that I could be in danger. That's why he said, I can't believe that he just went out, he's going outside and going to confront this moose and feed him. They were in fear that I could be killed by the moose. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, yeah. Incredible.
And the wife, meaning her mom, if they saw their eyes, I could see their face. They were in total shock that I actually went to go see the moose. And I was laughing and smiling while it was the moose, and the moose is looking at me going, I'm trying to tell you something here. That it's time for you to get going, because the universe is sending me in to tell you, because now your name is MooseHeart when I get back from the States and they found out. But at the time, this moose, they are messengers. They're connected to the God. The reason I want to bring this up, and I keep bringing it up, the animals are communicators to the source. They get it in the inner ear. They have sensory perceptions that we don't have. They're being spoken to go help that person, or to give them a message, not to be hunted. They're in God's presence. And boy, when I'm saying this, boy, the Holy Spirit's coming through chicken skin. That I want to acknowledge all the animals in the world, that they're being misunderstood and being used in a way that they're actually in the God self presence, and people take them that they're animals, that they're not messengers, and they are, and that we should treat them with reverence and respect. In India, they respect animals. In different cultures, they're in homage to animals, from the goat to the cow. In India, the goat and another, you know what I mean? There's a reverence of taking care of those animals. Feed the families for them in India, say, or in Africa. Those animals are in reverence. The elephants have, they warn you, because they're on the earth with their vibration of their feet can pick up a tsunami over in Thailand. So you tell me who's in harmony with the universe? The animals.
Wow.
The animals are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is astounding.
Yeah.
That's, and we hear about how whales can hear each other over, thousands of miles.
Yes.
Under the ocean.
Yeah.
And,
well, you brought up the whales. You're correct, because when I swim in the water with the whales, when I'm in the water, I mean, I just have to be, say, maybe 100 yards out, or maybe not even that, 50 yards out. I could go underwater while the whales come in from Alaska and different parts of the world, Seattle. They come in the Hawaiian waters to birth and all their babies and everything, because it's tropical here. When we go in the ocean, they're jumping out of the ocean. I just have to go underwater, and I hear the sounds of the whales and the dolphins doing their symphony just by going underwater and submerging, say, maybe 5 feet down, and you could hear them miles and miles away. And they're in the water close by, like a couple miles from me, but you could hear all the intergalactic sounds under the water, I would say, because it is an intergalactic, because they got a sound frequency that would blow any musician out of the water what they sing. Believe me.
Wow, how incredible. And then there's this whole idea of, because I've been looking into these various devices that you can hook up to plants, because I've heard examples online where they've put these little things on the leaves of plants, and you can actually hear them sing through the devices. You can hear their consciousness, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is just so fascinating
to me. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I worked with, when you mentioned about plants, and I'm glad you did, brother, because that's something that is very important for the planet right now, and for humanity to understand. I worked with a healer, and she was she actually she channeled a flower with the poisons that what these evil empire does to our environment, these evil souls that don't want to bring in harmony. She channeled the flower to saying we can't handle the amount of poisons and toxins that and crying. I saw this emotional healer in front of me, her face as a flower diva, crying out to humanity that they're being destroyed with all these toxins, and I saw it all, that they didn't know what to do, that they're being destroyed all over the world because of these toxins, and not the natural, like the farmers would do things in a good way, or we have to protect our plants, our gardens, but it's true about the plants. She acted as a channel for the flowers and came in and channeled that information, that they were in so much grief that they were being poisoned, and the humanity was being poisoned in not that they wanted to be, but they're being poisoned by the dark forces to keep away the goodness and the good things that people want to do. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's so intriguing, because Louis, oh gosh, what was his last name? He was one of the speakers on harmonic convergence, and so he likes to do time lapse, really close up time lapses of strawberries coming into fruition, flowers growing, and just amazing, because you really see how these things are alive.
Yeah.
And it's there's this what you probably most likely know about is that there's this network of fungi that just runs all over the planet. They call it the nature's internet.
Yes.
And it just goes all over the planet.
Yes.
And every single tree is in communication with every single other tree.
Yes. And
all through this complex fungi that runs beneath the planet.
Yes.
And it kind of reminds me of like how you'd seen those westerns where the natives would put their ear on the train track and they could tell exactly how far away a train was.
Yes.
And how soon it would be there.
Yep.
Where like that's just fascinating to me, because knowing that these various cultures that have had such a close relationship with the universe, it seems to me that those would be the people that we ought to go to get information from and to get the wisdom from, because they're in direct communication with all that is the natural unfolding in the universe. And it's so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating.
No, it's right on what you said, Kurt. And I'm getting the chicken skin, the Holy Spirit coming through what you just stated, that it needs to be spoken, because the indigenous and all these wisdom keepers, and I traveled and I met with them, they're the ones that have the knowledge. They go, well, how come I'm hidden out? Why do you want to talk to me? I said, because you have the knowledge and wisdom, and I'm going to help bring you out. Oh, no, I want to stay hidden out, Valentine. No, you're not going to stay hidden out, because you have the knowledge to come out. and I already brought you out because they came to get you. Oh, no, I don't want to. Well, you have no choice now because we found you out.
You have no choice now.
Yeah, I said we found you out. Now the work begins. You know, you can't hide out no more. You are the wisdom keepers, the indigenous, the Indians, the American Native Indians, the Lakota, the Cherokee. You name any tribe, the Black Elk, whatever. You know, they have all these tribes globally. Even Marlon Brando did not accept the award because Hollywood would use the Indians as the, the cowboy in India effect, cowboys and Indians. And that's what we have in the world. The cowboys and Indians, I would say, everyone's against somebody. Instead of being in harmony, he wouldn't accept the award. He had the woman come up to accept it. Hollywood gave him the award, I think, for The Godfather or something like The Godfather, and he wouldn't accept this award because he said that I want the woman from the tribe to accept it, and Hollywood was in total shock that Marlon Brando wouldn't go up and accept it, and because he said the way the films she spoke, that he had a speech to say because of making all the cowboy and Indian things, putting the Indians down and not uplifting them and killing them. He said, I do not want to accept the award on behalf. I will give it to the Indians instead. I'll accept the award on their behalf because they suffered so much by me making all these films with you in Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
how intriguing.
I found this out with Bill because Bill was involved with Marlon Brando, was his not only cousin, but he was his right-hand man. I mean, he was like a family member to him because his mom bought the island in not Bali, but it's the other one where he did all the films and all. I mentioned the other broadcast where not Bali, but what's the other one? Tahiti, where he did. Yeah, his mom bought. Bill's mom had the money because they had pharmacies, they had movie theaters, they were very well off. His family. His mom was with Marlon Brando as a partner. That's how he's his cousin, and gave him the money to jumpstart with The Godfather. He did the way he spoke to The Godfather, because I listened to one of your tapes with doing The Godfather, so now you get to talk about it tonight.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
Before we got on air, I'm listening to Kurt's Inspirado, and it wouldn't stop. I had to shut off the thing to get back on to be interviewed with him. Like five interviews before Kurt called me.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
And Marlon Brando, you started doing the whole thing with Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
So getting back to what I was saying, so he put Cotton in there because his career, he had to restart it. But Bill's mom is the one that restarted his career, gave him a start because he everything changed for him with his son and daughter, and things happened in Hollywood with him. And he said, she said, I'm going to buy this island for you, because he loved Tahiti when he did the Mutiny on the Bounty there in many films. He fell in love with the island. She bought an island for him as a gift. She gave the money to buy the island, I think, because he got the resources back. I don't know whether he gave it back to her, but she bought it for him to restart his career again.
Wow.
How you like that? And then he got The Godfather. Then he got Mutiny on the Bounty. All these roles. But I'll tell you one thing, which I don't know if I told you, but Bill told me. He said, Marlon Brando, I don't know if you know, but he acts like Trump. He talks like Trump. You wouldn't think so. He said he acts like him. He talks like if you think of Donald Trump, that's how Marlon Brando was. He said you wouldn't believe it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I'm curious about with you were saying Marlon Brando had the Native American woman go up there and accept the award.
Yes.
Did he spend a lot of time with the natives? Was he a big,
Very much.
with their culture?
Yes.
And...
Very much. He was so, yeah, he didn't want to do any pictures any longer when he saw and he woke up spiritually about certain things, even though he acted like I told you, like Donald Trump, the way he would speak to people and stuff. And Bill gave me the insight, and I go, you won't believe it, but that's the way he is. And he said, yeah, he spoke up for the natives. He was a voice for them. He got to know them before he let her receive that award. Believe me, he was very involved with the indigenous, and I'm getting the chicken skin going through me. The Holy Spirit of God, the Christ consciousness, that he wanted to make a difference to help the Indians, the indigenous that suffered, their families, because Hollywood would put them so down and kill and kill and kill. And he said, I don't want to be part of this any longer. Yeah.
Wow, incredible.
But,
it's you were talking earlier about the importance of harmony, and everybody just knows deep down inside just how much better something feels when there's harmony, rather than some kind of friction. When there's a harmonic intention with the group mindset of just going, okay, we, what can we do to kind of be tuned into the same channel. And I had frequently thought about the idea of, it's interesting, at a very young age we're taught that idea of competition, of us versus them.
yeah.
At a very young age we're taught all the history that's out there of all the wars, of all the battles, all this stuff of, and it just seems so unnecessary to me. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting if we scrapped all those and then instead we show all the times in history where there was harmony, where there was collaboration between people, where there were, all the times where inventions and innovations were created. And then that was taught at an early age. And then kids from that moment forward are then appreciating each other's ideas and then learning how to combine them together, learning how to create things together. And, could you, man.
And the imagination is a key. My mom would always say, the imagination, the creativity, as you said, the creativity, imagination, and collaboration of coming together is why I stepped out of the sports world, brother, as a pitcher, and I had contracts to play with 5 professional teams, from the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, St. Louis Cardinals, the Atlanta Braves. I walked on AAA, and then Pittsburgh Pirates. I had to leave that in the broadcasting. Anything in the world that had with competition, I had to leave and go into the spiritual, divine, healing light. I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
No matter what I would do, I wouldn't be in harmony unless I was doing God's work and the healing work from heaven. I was sent to do this work. Once I was involved with healing, I didn't have to eat. I was so filled with the Spirit that I knew this was my mission, my calling to go forward and help humanity. Because no matter what I did, I did many things in my life, brother: broadcasting, television, movies, commercials, modeling, all these jobs that they wanted me to be this big broadcaster in New York, and go, well, you're the next guy coming in. We're going to get you groomed in on ABC, NBC. We're going to get you on the television shows. We want to put you on air, like that. That's what we want to get you in a television series with Toma. I want to get you ready for Hollywood. Your parents, you and your sister, you were made for Hollywood. That's where they were going. And every time they talk about Hollywood with me, I just didn't get a good feeling about that I should go in that direction. Because I don't like to read lines on people. I don't understand that. I don't feel that acting is reading lines. I'm not acting. I'm in I'm in the flow of life where I'm naturally there, and the acting schools, Lee Strasberg, uh, uh, wanted me to be in their acting school because I was naturally in the flow. I didn't, and then my mentor said to me, "Well, they don't." Susan Strasberg, which was on his television series, he didn't tell me, but she noticed me and said, "Well, it may take you 2 years to get in here." And I said, "Well, I just came in because he wanted me to check it out, David, if you had any, about acting school." And he said, "You don't need acting school. I was testing you out. You're a natural. And you're like, what's his name? Freddie Prince that came on. You're a natural," he said. And not only I stay in the natural, authentic, but I'm not interested in reading people's lines.
Wow, and that's the key, the authenticity right there. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Authenticity always shines through.
Yes.
It's direct from source. It's
Yep.
it's a clear, umbilical cord right there to source.
Yep.
And it's so interesting because here you are, where I've heard all these stories where people have tried to sort of put you in these certain directions, and you've walked your own path. You've followed your heart, and still everything works out for you. It's amazing because it's such a wonderful story to go, look, everybody, follow your heart. Follow your heart, and it will still work out. There's no forcing involved. It doesn't have to be forcing involved. There doesn't have to be competition involved, or that scarcity mindset. It's just like, hey, you know what? I'm moving in this direction, and trusting in the process. And I know that, you keep adding little snowflakes to each other, you got a snowball. You keep moving that snowball along, you got a bigger snowball. Before you know it, you push that over an edge, you got an avalanche. And you're like, how the heck did that happen from one little snowflake that could easily melt in your hands? It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is, Kurt. It really is. It's what they call walk by faith, Hawaiian style. Walk by faith, universal. I talk about, being universal in the, be in the flow of life, the ebb of life, just think of rivers of water and clean water around the world, clean water for people to drink, aqua, rivers of water that are empowering the mind, our living vessels, clean water, right? And empower that. That aqua. I mean, we're 90% water, brother, 70% water, whatever you want to call it. But we need to hydrate with clean water. You know what I mean? Clean sources of aqua.
Wow.
H2O. Yeah.
It's so interesting when we think about that idea of. I frequently think about that idea of precipitation and how first of all, they're just water molecules flying around all over the place. That who knows that the water that I'm drinking right now was once over in, let's say, Japan. Mm-hmm. And before that it was over in Norway. Before that it was over in Hungary. And the water that's falling down upon me right now and then I'm drinking was somewhere else. And then I put that water back out and someone else has it. So it's so interesting how we're all connected through that water, and it's and then we hear about how that idea of how water holds memory, and how we can affect the chemical reactions within the water. And if that's the case, and if that's the case, and there's all these little molecules of water out there, well, then certainly if we can affect the water molecules within our own body, well, then my goodness, we must be able to affect all those water molecules everywhere else that are moving around out there.
That's correct.
It's so fascinating to me when we think about that, and how we truly are all connected through all the water molecules, the frequencies, the vibrations, all that stuff.
Yes, and the trees, like you said, when I was in the wilderness, brother, what my spiritual eye saw in the wilderness was that the energy was actually like a cylinder. I mean, lifted off. I saw that actually. The energies was lifted off like just spinning around. Everything's spinning like the universe. Even in the trees, the energy's spinning. And I was, I was in a fast, don't forget. when I just went out to see the stars, and I see the trees and the light, and I see them spinning, and I go, am I seeing things? I'm not seeing things. They're showing me in the spiritual light that everything is moving. You know, energetically, it's moving. You know, energy's moving in and out of the trees, out of the wilderness, the plants. Everything's moving. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so intriguing, and coming to that revelation and realizing that, you know, there's nothing really truly to fight against. It's more of kind of getting out of our own way, letting the source kind of speak through us, appreciating the process. It's so interesting because I absolutely love synchronicities. I love them. I love talking about them. I love when they show up, and I notice that the more I talk about them, the more that they show up. And it's kind of like I get this image of like the little kids where, you know, maybe they're doing a cartwheel or something, and then they notice you're watching them. They're like, oh, you see that I'm doing a cartwheel? Well, watch this. I'm going to do a somersault. You know, they just kind of want to show off for you. They're like, they'll do more for you. And so the more I find myself kind of plugging into that kind of relationship with the universe and following those synchronicities, what's interesting is then I trust more and more in my intuition and the process that's going to unfold. And it's interesting because I've had many conversations with people who, you know, they deem themselves as perfectionists, and I guess there's some sort of weird, they feel that there's some sort of honor in having to struggle to create something, that there's some sort of romantic idea of the tortured artist, that you have got to, you know, really be tortured to make this thing. And I'm like, man, I just don't feel that's necessary. I don't know how to tell you guys. I just don't feel that's necessary. I think I'm following an intuition here, and I'm going to keep following it and see where it ends up. And I'm going to trust that it's going to take me to where I want it to go. And it doesn't have to be pushing a rock, you know, like Narcissus doesn't have to be, isn't that, or Sisyphus or whatever, pushing the rock up the hill and then it falls back down, and pushing the rock up the hill, falls back down. It doesn't have to be that at all. It can just be something where, here's the sound. Okay, well, let me just keep walking towards the sound and see where the epicenter is. And, you know, eventually you end up there. And it feels so satisfying when you have all those examples, because then I start noticing, you know, that's where those manifestations of reality come into play, where I go, I've got an inclination here. I've got a feeling about this. You know what? I'm just going to keep going in this direction. I feel this is the good direction to go. And, you know, people, and then I'll get these messages from people where they're going, what the heck are you doing? You know, you got to worry about this. And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? And I'm thinking, you know what, man, I got a relationship with the universe here. We're working together on this thing. I have a closer relationship with the invisible. There's more invisible than there is visible. So I better become better friends with the invisible. Yeah. So, you know, the more I do that, it's like, it always pays off.
And then the invisible, the dragonflies will show up to remind you of the illusion of the invisible, of the visible. You know, they'll bring in they just show up. They showed up last week like little helicopters, and the butterflies came in, and then these huge, I'm not kidding you, these huge thunderbirds. I call them thunderbirds. They're like, they only showed up like, it's a rarity to see them in the sky. It's like an eagle, and like maybe. They're bigger than an eagle. They're thunder beings, these three, and they just showed up in the sky, hovering over. They're huge, like huge cranes, and they're called thunder beings, and they are the divine. The three is the divine feminine that's coming in. These are messengers through the birds. The birds, I call it the bird tribes, and they show up when I'm in the ocean. And Diana, she's a channel with the Archangel Michael along with me, and with the Ashtar command she's involved with on the council, and they show up when we come together in the divine light as we're spending time at the ocean from my being, you know, getting away from helping everyone, and you know, having an acupuncture treatment, and then I go and soak. And they showed up. the last few times, and no one's ever seen them on the island before. I mean, we've never seen them before. They showed up because of what's going on. They're telling us messages about the divine feminine continuing to move through on the planet and the transformations that's going on with the butterflies show up.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So all these, I'll tell you, all these beings, like at night, they go back into this energy and they embody into these insects, into the bird tribes, the sparrows, the hummingbird. They all come in as messengers. They're watching over us and through the animals. The cats, I take care of the up on the hillside, 40 cats plus they come, from, I mean, they just surround me because I take care of them and the community, and they come to my house and they just come, and through the whole night they come for food, and they just look at me, and they just look at you, and it's like they can't talk. Their eyes tell you they're ready to eat. They just look at you. They look right through you. They have the 9 rays. I want you to know this. They have the 9 rays in the eyes, and they're very spiritual. The cat kingdom, the pussycats, the kittens. They're ready there spiritually. They'll go to the area of the person that's ill. They'll sit on that area. When I was in Denmark, right on the massage table where the person has an illness, they'll go right to that area to heal, to show me that they need healing right there. That's the cat kingdom.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so great because I live with 2 cats, and it's something I want to call back to something you said about the hummingbirds. I've been seeing there's this, and I think it's the same one. Over the past month, I've seen this one hummingbird, and then today was the first time I've seen 2 hummingbirds when I was on the phone with my buddy that I was on the phone with earlier, who I hadn't talked to in a while.
Yes.
And he and I are very in harmony creatively, very, very in harmony. And so 2 hummingbirds popped up. And it's so interesting how the hummingbirds, when their wings move, it looks like the infinity symbol. It's really interesting.
There you go.
It looks just like the infinity symbol. And it's so funny that you brought up the idea of how these birds, they transform at night, because it's interesting because for the longest time I wondered, where the heck do the birds go at night? Where do they go? And then where do the raccoons go during the daytime? But then raccoons and possums are out at night. It's like, wait, do they transform? I'd often played with this idea in my brain, going, they probably go and then they just evolve. At some point when no one's watching, they go hang out in a tree somewhere. They go, all right, now it's time for me to be a raccoon. It's so incredible.
I know it is. And then if you look at it, because I was told this with the when I was in the wilderness with Celeste Starr, African shaman, she would tell me that during the nighttime they would go up their spirits, and during the day they would come down with messengers, and then on the bird or on the moth or on the butterfly, if you look on their, they have messages on them. The beautiful, you could see they have from the cosmic universe. They have codes on them that they're giving you information. They're resonating at a frequency. They're there to show you something, and then they take off and disappear like out of nowhere, like they're gone.
Wow.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, and same with the praying mantis. The praying mantis comes to my door. I'm getting prepared to help somebody in Molokai on an emergency. That's the truth serum. The praying mantis it seeks the truth, and now they're looking for someone to take care of their home, the family. They don't want to give it to people that aren't a family. Somebody that they know. The sister says to her, the sister-in-law, Valentine on Maui, the praying mantis comes on my door, and I describe it. It was huge, waiting for me as a message that she has a praying mantis over in, literally as a messenger in the house, not live, but something showing the praying mantis that it transformed and had the praying mantis, and there was a message to her that I was to be there at the house when they
Oh
you
my
know.
God.
And it
This is incredible.
they took pictures of it. Take pictures of it as a gift that the universe is guiding you to your next where you're needed. I only go where I'm needed. I don't go where I'm not needed. I go where do you want me? What's next?
Now listen, Valentine, I didn't realize that this podcast, I always thought this podcast ran out after an hour, but it runs out after 2 hours.
Okay.
And we only have like a couple of minutes left
Sure.
here. But what kind of message would you like to leave these people with before I?
Yeah, well, in regards to we're gonna be talking further about Elizabeth tomorrow, and she'll open up about the disability, about a campaign that we want to help with 100,000 signatures, and we'll discuss that for tomorrow. But you want me to leave with them what we talked about tonight?
Well, we basically have like 1 minute left,
Okay.
So if you can light up.
Yeah. So what I would say is you're welcome to contact me, and also Kurt can contact me direct if it's really immediate. But they'll have my email. They can look at my YouTube videos, the 24, where I get nominated globally for my life's work for 2019 and 2020. And it's about helping one another and helping humanity. And I really mean taking care of growing gardens, growing things that keep your life force alive. And don't listen to all this media stuff in fear. Stay in your glorious light and have faith and go forward and listen to your inner guidance, your intuition, your women's intuition, men's intuition, children's intuition. Listen to your family as a unit to help one another in your communities globally. That's the message about bringing the golden light in, the rainbow.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, we got like 15 seconds left. Thank you so much for being on the show. And
wonderful.
And as soon as we're done here, I'll start getting this uploaded.
Wonderful, brother. And aloha from Maui and globally, with sunshine ahead to everyone. Rainbows ahead.
I love it. Take care. We'll talk later.
All right, wonderful, brother.
All right. Aloha.
Aloha.
This is Blythe Baines, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.